Last week it was reported by the director that Warner Brothers had canceled a live-action Ben 10 movie, and I and many others were very upset to hear that. Now, reading the entire article, it kind of seemed that this movie was in development since 2011, and that kind of shows that this was a project stuck in development hell. Along with that, and apparently some rights expiring on the whole live-action, a bunch of Hollywood that I don't really know is the reason why this ended up being canceled. This news was still able to get the community jumping, as some people believe that this was a good thing, saying that we all dodged the bullet because we know how live action products have turned out in the past couple of years. But other people like myself were very upset to hear this news because, in my opinion, this might have been the only and the next time that we've seen Ben 10 on a screen again. So it was very upsetting to me to hear that they canceled a Ben 10 project. I understand why people are happy and sad that this has been officially canned and canceled. And honestly, I just want to share my thoughts about this topic as a whole. Now, this project didn't have anything for me to talk about in terms of like what it could have looked like, who could have been casted, etc, etc. Instead, in this video, I want to talk about the reactions and maybe the potential a live action Ben 10 project has, and why this whole situation, I think, isn't as black and white as both sides think. People have been rejoicing about this movie's cancellation, saying that we should be happy that it was canceled because of how it's been looking for live action adaptations recently and just how bad they've been, which, it's a very valid reasoning to have against this movie, because just the whole pool of recent live action adaptation shit just hasn't been fucking good at all. Shows and movies like Cowboy Bebop, Avatar: The Last Airbender, or Death Note, or just any Netflix live action adaptation besides maybe One Piece and Yu Yu Hakusho, I guess, all not been received well by both fans and critics. And if that's how this Ben 10 movie would have turned out, then that's definitely a huge bullish dodge for us. And I've also seen people speculate that they canceled this because they may plan on giving us something animated, but honestly, that's just like insane copium, my nigga. Like, I wish I had that shit, that delusion gas y'all sucking on. I wish I had some of that, bro. Now, as to why I'm upset about this whole news, it's simply because I think it's very unfair to think that this project would have been hot fucking garbage off rip because of how other live action products have turned out. And since we had nothing to go off of, I guess you can use that as a way to kind of like convince yourself that, yeah, no, this would have sucked. But on the other side, I don't think that's really fair to this project, as we didn't see anything about it. We didn't hear shit, not a casting, not a scene, not an image, not a trailer. So writing it off as garbage immediately, to me, I think is definitely unfair. I know live action adaptations recently don't have the best track record, but that doesn't mean getting good ones is impossible, and we've gotten a few good ones recently as well. For example, video games have always had it the worst when it came to live action adaptations. Yet the best live action adaptation recently happens to be the one based on a video game. Sonic the Hedgehog showed audiences that these adaptations can be really good and that they can work, and the way you make adaptations work like this is by getting people who care about the franchise. The reason the Sonic movies have gotten a good rep recently is because you can feel the love and care that they put into these movies. The first Sonic movie is honestly like really basic and average, but it's an enjoyable watch, especially for a Sonic fan, because you're constantly reminded that the people who love Sonic are working on this movie. The same could also be said for the second movie, and it looks like we'll be saying the same for the third, and even giving that one even higher praises. And all this could be backed up by the fact that they changed Sonic's original design. Now, obviously they changed it due to the very, very intense and insane backlash they got, but I don't think they would have changed it if they didn't care. They could have just left it how it is, but instead they took the extra step to change it to please the fans, because that's who this movie is for, fans of the franchise. And I think that's the key to how you tackle a live action adaptation. You handle it with love and care. Now, I haven't watched a live action One Piece adaptation, but from what I've heard, it seems to be an actual good anime adaptation. And that's not hard to believe when I hear people talk about it, and how people talk about the lead actor, Inaki Godoy, who plays Luffy, because every time I see him, he seems to just love playing Luffy. I feel like he genuinely cares about the character because his energy is just running through the whole production. And also, just looking at the overwhelming fan reception of the show online shows me that this adaptation is doing things right, because you have to be doing something right if anime fans aren't complaining about the show, especially ones as passionate as One Piece fans. I mean, they just dropped their season 2 teaser, and I seen nothing but excitement and love at the fact that they showed Chopper. I mean, like, I don't know who the fuck Chopper is for real, but if people are excited to see more of this live action adaptation, I think they're doing something right. Hell, even the old Scooby-Doo movies had a lot of care put into them, especially in my opinion Monsters Unleashed. And another reason for that is because they kept the elements that make Scooby-Doo Scooby-Doo, which is the mystery in the gang's dynamic. I will always love Scooby-Doo 2 over Scooby-Doo 1 because that Scooby movie feels the most like a Scooby movie. I think the first movie is decent, but this second movie is where James Gunn really cooked. And he's also a big reason why these movies worked, because he's a director who has shown that he cares about anything he works on, who cared about the live action adaptation. And like I said, these things can work if you get people who care. Now, Ben 10 is obviously a more complex franchise than something like Scooby-Doo, but my point is that if WB was willing to give this Ben 10 movie a crew and cast of people who actually care, which I hope they would have, because Ben 10 is a $8 billion fucking franchise, I think this movie would have came out a lot better than people expected. If this would have been the case, we probably could have seen more than 4 aliens in the movie. We could have maybe seen a well thought out story with moments and characters faithful to the show, if people who care were put in charge of this. But then again, this is unfortunately Warner Brothers we're talking about. This was another point of discussion, as seeing how Warner Brothers treats their projects. Now David Zaslav is a bigger threat to society than Shibuya Sakuna. It raised valid concern that this Ben 10 project, if made, could have absolutely been tampered with up the ass and turned into something disgraceful due to WB's constant meddling, and that would have been my biggest worry. WB has had a horrible track record with their projects, especially superhero related ones, and having belief in them to deliver on something like Ben 10, a franchise that they've noticeably neglected the past years, is hard for not only me but some others to believe. However, I still think dismissing the idea of a live action adaptation because of these outside factors still honestly isn't fair. People are saying that any all new Ben 10 content should be animated because that's where it's been at its best, and that makes sense, and I honestly agree. But if WB doesn't have plans for anything animated and instead want to do some live action, then I still would have gave them a shot to make it good. Ben 10 should obviously be animated no matter what. That's honestly the way I prefer it, and it always will be. But I just don't think writing off something like this is just fair, in all honesty. Comic book characters are best handled in comic books and animation, as they are the preferred ways to adapt these stories and characters, which is something we can all agree on, yes? Yet I don't hear people writing off live action adaptations for them. Adaptations like The Batman and Logan and Spider-Man 2 are movies that are considered to be the best stories for the characters I named. Ben 10 works best in animation, yes, but I don't think that means they should never venture out of animation again. Now let's say this Ben 10 movie was to come out and we were seeing things that were leading up to, trailers, news, yada yada yada. I would have held out hope that it would have been good, because honestly, I'm a Ben 10 dick writer, bro. Like, guys, come on, it's a Ben 10 channel. But one thing I wouldn't have to have any hope in, because I feel like it would have been a guarantee, was that it would have made a lot of money. Because that's the reason we keep getting these live action adaptations. They just make a lot of fucking money. I just seen Transformers 1 this past weekend, and I highly recommend you see it too, as it's a really fantastic animated movie. But in its first opening weekend, it has only made $39 million, while the last live action Transformers movie damn near doubled that with its first opening weekend making $61 million. My point of this is just to show that live action content just makes more money, even if the product is inferior to its animated counterpart. It is why Disney and Netflix have been spamming these fucking live action adaptations. A live action Ben 10 movie, I feel, could have definitely made a profit off its name alone, which could have possibly made Ben 10 mainstream again, leading to more stuff like animated stuff. A live action Ben 10 movie, I feel, could have made a profit off its name alone, which could have possibly made Ben 10 mainstream again, leading to more stuff. It's important to mention that even if this movie did make a shit ton of money, it obviously needs to be good first and foremost. I don't want to see Ben 10 go down a path that Sony vs. Venom has been going down, or they keep making these mid-ass movies for the characters just because they make a buttload of money. I want projects of quality over just being handed something just to say that we're getting something. And it's why I've stated numerous times that I understand the concern of doing another live action Ben 10 movie, because that's a real possibility. But I do believe that there's some untapped potential that they could bring out if they were to do another. I know the last 2 attempts at a live action Ben 10 movie were not the best, and it's a reason why people don't want to see more, mainly because these movies showed us a glaring issue with attempting this concept, and that's just the lack of aliens you'll get. Both Race Against Time and Alien Swarm suffer from a severe lack of alien appearances. Race Against Time had a total of 4 aliens appear throughout the movie, and they all looked kind of questionable to say the least. Well, Alien Swarm had less aliens appear in that movie with a total of 3. They all looked really good for a TV movie. And I feel like we could have gotten more aliens in Alien Swarm, considering their budget for that movie was $35 million more than it was for Race Against Time. But instead, they spent it on like fucking motorcycle and car shots. Like, yeah, real smart guys. Let's spend the money on car shots instead of the aliens because we're making a fucking Ben 10 movie. Like, who the fuck? Who did that? I say all this to say that in the current state of movies and technology, a Ben 10 movie could give us a good amount of aliens that look pretty good. Because if Alien Swarm, a movie that came out in 2009 with a $40 million budget, can give us 3 decent ones, I wholeheartedly believe that a 2020's Ben 10 movie could deliver when it comes to giving us aliens. I haven't even mentioned the fact that you can also just do some aliens practically, saving some CGI work for other things. And if you still don't believe me that there's no way that enough aliens can be adapted in a live action movie, well, that's fine, because honestly, I don't think there needs to be that many aliens in general. This is going to be my little hot take for the video and probably going to make some upset, Because yes, I know Ben transforming into aliens is the most important part of the franchise, as it's not Ben 10 if he doesn't transform. But not doing a live action version because they can't squeeze hella transformations into me doesn't seem like a good reason to never make another one. I think you'd be able to get away with maybe doing 4 to 5 aliens in a movie if, hear me out, if the story and pacing is good. Having a good story and pacing can maybe distract the audience and make them focus on something other than the next time we'll see Ben use forearms again. That way, when he also uses these aliens, you can go all out and you can place their appearances throughout the movie strategically, so it feels like we've seen / got a lot of aliens in the movie, because we've been seeing them frequently and there's been enough time in between where, you know, you're invested in something other than that. So when they pop up, you're like, oh shit, you know, am I cooking? Please tell me I'm cooking, because I know this is probably a hard thing to believe. A lot of what I've been saying in this video is just me just trying to look on the bright side, to be honest with you guys. Like I've said throughout the entire video, I think a live action adaptation could work if it's given the proper treatment and care that I think the movie that Ben 10 would deserve. But I think it's best for this franchise and others to just honestly stay animated, obviously. That's a no-brainer, and I think that's something we all will agree on. Plus, it's a safer option than hoping that WB will get their act together for a Ben 10 movie. Because honestly, WB has to get a lot of shit together before they tackle a Ben 10 movie, in my opinion, low-key. Because I don't want them niggas near the shit they acting like how they acting right now. With the numerous of dumbass decisions WB has made this past decade, it's hard to have faith that they would do something like a Ben 10 movie justice. I mean, just look at the Minecraft movie seems to be turning out. Another beloved franchise that WB is probably gonna fucking fumble. I understand why people didn't have faith in this movie, because if it was to come out, it probably would have been shit, unfortunately. So maybe overall it was a blessing in disguise this movie was canceled. But being the Ben 10 dick rider I am, being the very, very delusional Ben 10 fan I am, I would have held out hope, and I'm going to continue to hold out hope, that if we do see a live action Ben 10 thing, that it can be good. And unless it gives me a reason not to believe it can't be good, then, you know, not be pissed like all you are. But at the end of the day, I think this is another example of why we have to support the upcoming comic. Supporting the comic is the best way we're gonna have to kind of show WB, show everybody that we want more Ben 10. Raising the sales, you know, it'll show that Ben 10 still makes money and that they'll maybe consider bringing the show back because there is a demand for it. So if you want to see more Ben 10, make sure you support the comic, please do that. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm on the road to 10K, as well as leaving a like and letting me know down below in the comments, would you be open to another live action Ben 10 project? I'm just gonna assume that most of the comments are gonna be like, fuck no, which, you know, that's fine. I'm gonna read what y'all gotta say. But yeah, I also dropped a big collab video with a ton of Ben 10 YouTubers. Some you may know, some you may not know. That'll be showing up along with 2 other videos that I highly recommend you check out. I make good content over here, so dude, show your boy some love. As well, if you want to directly support the channel, you can check the link down below to become a member. But it's not mandatory. It's just if you wanna, you know, help your boy out. You know, make some more videos. You know, it's expensive. Nonetheless, it's been your boy Dan, the boy Wonder, signing out. Peace.